What's good, everyone, and welcome into a brand new edition of the World Class Hoops Podcast here for Thursday, August the 5th, 2021. I'm your host, Chris Rouse, coming to you from my hometown of Chicago, Illinois, getting ready to give you the latest updates on 2021 NBA free agency. Also going to do a live check-in on what's going on with some of the latest reports around the league and NBA free agency. Also, maybe an NBA Summer League update. Also, USA Olympic basketball last night, this morning, the men with a win against Australia in the semifinals, able to advance on to the gold medal game. And then later tonight, the USA, the women's team, they will have their matchup in the semifinals as they'll go up against Serbia. And I'll break that down as well later on in the show. But once again, remember, you can follow me. I'm your host, Chris Rouse. You can follow the World Class Hoops Podcast on social media. First on Twitter at WCHP Media, and also available on Facebook at World Class Hoops Podcast. And of course, on YouTube as well at World Class Hoops Podcast, and also the World Class Hoops Podcast available on all streaming platforms, including Anchor, Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube at World Class Hoops Podcast. And once again, remember, I'm your host, Chris Rouse. If you want to follow me on social media, you can on Twitter and Instagram right there on your screen at KINGROUSE21, King Rouse 21. The latest reports from NBA free agency. Well, earlier this morning, literally, this is the first thing I saw when I woke up. When I looked at my phone, sometimes when I wake up, I look at my phone just to see what time it is. And the first thing I saw on my phone was Julius Randle. Julius Randle, per reports from Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, Julius Randle has re-signed with the New York Knicks. This is a part of a contract extension. It's a 4-year, $117 million contract extension. It's added on to what is going to be his last season was expected to be his last season as a member of the New York Knicks, as his contract was expiring this season. But Julius Randle, with a contract extension, 4 years, $117 million, he's going to stay with the New York Knicks. And honestly, man, first things first, I got to say about Julius Randle, coming off of easily the best year of his NBA career. What I got to say about Julius Randle, I'm actually happy to see it for him, man. You got to really think about when you think about Julius Randle in his rookie year, literally the first game of his NBA career. He broke his leg. He had a broken right tibia. Remember, he got drafted by the Lakers. He was the number 7 pick in the 2014 NBA draft. And in his first game, they were playing against the Houston Rockets. He broke his leg. He ended up missing the rest of his rookie year. He ended up getting traded to New Orleans, if I remember right. I can't remember if he was traded or if that was free agency, but he ended up in New Orleans. And then he ended up on the New York Knicks this past season and had the best year of his career. There you see the numbers, all career highs, 24 points a game, 6 assists. The rebounds is tied for his previous career high, which he had earlier, I think his second year in his career in the NBA. And then also, he parlayed that into an all-star appearance as well, on top of being the 2021 NBA Most Improved Player. So definitely can understand why the New York Knicks felt like this was the move they needed to make moving forward. And it's a great signing for New York. I mean, especially when you're thinking about what's going on around the Eastern Conference. Honestly, I really just think the Eastern Conference overall, they've been doing free agency a lot better. I mean, the big free agent signing yesterday was Victor Oladipo. I mean, once again, another glorified contract renegotiation as Victor Oladipo goes back to Miami. But for Miami, that's a great pickup considering they've already added Kyle Lowry. They've re-signed one of the more elite shooters in the three-point shooters in the league in Duncan Robinson. They maintain size inside with Dwayne Dedmon. They get a contract extension for Jimmy Butler. They have Bam Adebayo under contract until 2025, which is also the same thing Julius Randle will be as well. Julius Randle, much like Bam Adebayo, they both will have player options in 2025. But much like Miami, much like what I'm about to say about New York, Miami putting it together as well, looking like they're going to try to make a run. And I'm noticing that a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference, they're really aligning their contracts, the contracts of these free agent signings around what Milwaukee has done. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's just how it played out, but it's perfectly aligned with what's going on with Milwaukee. Chris Middleton, contract due in 2023. Chicago has Nikola Vucevic. He's due in 2023. Drew Holiday, player option, 2024. Chicago, they have DeMar DeRozan. He's signed to 2024. Julius Randle, he's now going to be signed to 2025. Miami, they have Duncan Robinson for 5 years. Kyle Lowry has a 3-year deal. Some of the other teams in the East, Philadelphia, I thought Philadelphia did a great job of adding shooters. You can say what you want about Ben Simmons maybe needing to be traded and maybe the trade package, some of the rumors we heard about the trade packages they've offered. But I thought they did a good job of keeping shooting on that team as well by keeping Danny Green, keeping Furkan Korkmaz, and then also adding George Niang from Utah. George Niang, a very good floor spacing three-point shooter, as we saw in Quinn Snyder's system in Utah this past season. Washington, the Wizards. The Washington Wizards add Spencer Dinwiddie. You add another scorer around Bradley Beal. You add shooting via the draft with Corey Kispert. Also, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma, depending on how you feel about those two guys, respectively. But you add shooting around Bradley Beal, and then you add Montrezl Harrell, who gives you some more energy. Adds a lot of energy to this Washington Wizards team. And so I think Washington, along with Miami, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, is trying to stay pat. I think the Eastern Conference had a lot of teams that really did that did really well in terms of setting themselves up to try to catch the team that right now is the class of the Eastern Conference, and that right now is the Milwaukee Bucks. Also, the Toronto Raptors, right before I got on the show, the Toronto Raptors added Ishmael Wainwright. He's a wing from he attended Baylor. He went to Baylor for college, but he's out of France. He recently played for Strasbourg in France, averaged 11 a game. I don't want to say a 3-and-D guy because I think he's more of a slasher type scorer, but he is very useful on the perimeter. So once again, Toronto adding, sort of going a different route, not really going the big free agent route, going with Scotty Barnes in the draft. And then now they add Ishmael Wainwright. We'll see what happens with him. And then also Toronto cutting a lot of contracts too. So you saw they let go of DeAndre Bembry, Aaron Baines. So really trying to sort of restructure what's going on up there in Toronto with Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam. I'm still in amazement they passed on Jalen Suggs. I remember going on air that day saying I thought that was going to be a slam dunk, Suggs to Toronto, but they instead went with Scotty Barnes. So Toronto, let's see how their approach works. They didn't like I said, they didn't go the free agent route like we saw sort of with Chicago, with New York kind of keeping some guys, to Miami adding people as did Washington. Toronto sort of trying to add through the draft or build through the draft. So we'll see how that approach works out for the Toronto Raptors moving forward as the 2021 NBA free agency rolls along, man. I'm getting excited for the NBA season to tip off, but right now NBA Summer League is going on right now in California. I know they have the Sacramento Summer League going on right now. The Vegas Summer League begins next Monday. I haven't really caught a second of the Sacramento Summer League yet. I was planning on getting to that tomorrow, actually, on the World Class Hoops right here on the World Class Hoops podcast. Much as I plan on getting to the USA women's matchup versus Serbia. Going to do a recap of that, as well as get into NBA Summer League right here tomorrow on the World Class Hoops podcast. But for now, we roll right into the Olympic coverage, and we go to Team USA's victory against Australia, the men's Olympic semifinals recap, as Team USA with a 97-78 victory as they defeated Australia. Now, look, I feel like every time I get on this show, I say the same thing. USA with a blowout victory, but that win was not as close as it appeared. Team USA up a 19-point win to advance to their fourth consecutive gold medal game. But Australia led 41-26 in the second quarter with 5:23 to go. But after that, Team USA went on a 48-14 run that spanned from that 5:23 mark in the second to the end of the third quarter. By the end of that 48-14 run, Team USA led by 19 going into the third. They were sparked by Kevin Durant, who pretty much kept them afloat throughout much of that first half. I mean, they had a very rough shooting start, shot 0 for 10 from three-point land in the first half, up until Devin Booker knocked down the three, and Devin Booker would end up adding 20 points in the ball game. I have more on both Durant and Booker later. But for Team USA, they get the win, 19-point victory, fourth consecutive gold medal game appearance for Team USA. And like I said, man, a typical game for this Team USA roster. I mean, this is their third consecutive victory after trailing by double digits in the first half. They see on the screen they trailed by 10 against both Spain and the Czech Republic. Now against Czech Republic, it was a lot earlier. It was 12-2. Spain. It made me a little bit more nervous. I remember thinking Spain might do it. They were up at one point. I think it was 41-29, and then Australia. So actually, I think it was 12, not 10. But so Spain had it by I think they led by like 39-29 or something like that. And then Australia, they led by 15. So USA once again overcoming a big first half deficit. Australia, look, the score is, I think the score is very misleading. Australia was actually putting in work in their first half. I mean, I got to show Australia some love. They shot 7 of 15 in the first half from three-point land. Dante Exum was actually perfect. He shot 3 for 3, had 10 points. And also, they were actually kind of beating Team USA in their own game. They had a 13-0 edge in the fast break points. But like I said earlier, it came down to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant in that first half really kept Team USA afloat. He finished the game with a game high 23 points. You see 1 of 7 from 3-point land for Durant. You could argue maybe he was part of the cause why they were struggling, because remember 0 for 10 from 3, and you see I think he was 0 for 5 from 3 in that first half himself. But Team USA able to turn it around, and I think a big reason for that was actually Devin Booker. Devin Booker in the first half, I mentioned they were 0 for 10 from 3-point land. I know I've probably mentioned it about 3 or 4 times, probably as much as I mentioned DeMar DeRozan like right before he got traded the other day. But Devin Booker's 3, it got them on the right track. That was followed by Jason Tatum 3, and that actually ended up leading to the 48-14 run. You see Booker ended with 20 points in the game. But not only just what he did on the stat sheet, Devin Booker on both ends of the court really made a difference for Team. I thought he was the catalyst in swinging this game for Team USA. Not only with making the 3, but also in the second half, just his on-ball defense, just constantly harassing Patty Mills, constantly harassing Chris Goulding, who was also knocking down some threes. Dante Exum, Devin Booker's his defense on the perimeter, and also his ability to force a lot of the guys from Australia into turnaround jump shots. He did a great job on both, just staying poised, staying with his men on defense, and forcing some tough shots, and he really changed the complexion of the game, much like we've seen with Team USA in their last few games. I mean, they get out to these rough starts. They had the same thing happen against the Czech Republic. They clamped down on defense, much like they did against Spain, and much like they did probably in that final 3 minutes of the first half against Australia, and then they come away with the victory, and now they're on their way to the gold medal matchup where they will go up. They will meet the winner of France Slovenia, and earlier today, France was able to beat Slovenia 90-89. Now on the screen right now, you're looking at the numbers for some of the Slovenia players. Luka Doncic, he has 16 points, 18 assists, and 10 rebounds. Mike Tobey added 23 points, but Luka Doncic, a triple-double in the Olympics, unfortunately in a losing effort, and actually probably his worst performance of the tournament. Actually, so he had in what you can probably say is his worst performance of the tournament, because he shot 5 of 18 from the field in the ball game. He puts up a triple double, but unfortunately for Slovenia, it came down to the wire. France was led by 25 points from Nando De Colo, 23 from Evan Fournier of the New York Knicks, who I mentioned earlier. And then Luka Doncic finishes the Olympics with an average of 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. So he went Russell Westbrook. He averaged a triple-double. Luka Doncic averages a triple-double in the Olympics, but unfortunately for Slovenia, the highest scoring team in the Olympics, they will not be playing in the gold medal game. They will be participating in the bronze medal matchup, as they will go up against they'll go up against Australia. This was an epic ending. What happened down the stretch, I was going to get to it. I was trying to build it up for you guys, but it got down to the wire. It'll be Team USA. They'll go up against France in the gold medal matchup, but it came down to the wire for Slovenia, as they had it was a play at the rim. I can't remember. I think it was Propellant. I forgot how to say his name. It was Capellan or something like that. He was driving to the Propellic. That's what his name. Clement Propellic. He had the ball. He had 17 points in the ball game. And on his drive to the rim, a chance to win the ball game with no time left, he had 8. He was going for points number 18 and 19. But Nicolas Batum of the LA Clippers, and also a friend, obviously, of the France national team, with the game-saving block, and as a result, France, with a 90-89 victory, they move on to the gold medal matchup. They will meet Team USA to play for the gold, and that matchup will happen tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. Central Time. So Team USA versus France. I have a full preview of that right here tomorrow on the World Class Hoops podcast, much the same as I will have the recap of tonight's USA women matchup against Serbia, as they will play in the Women's Olympics semifinal. USA going up against a Serbia team who defeated China, as they were able to win 77-70. They had 14 steals in the game, led by 37% from three-point shooting. They're also led in this tournament by Jelena Brooks, who's averaging 13 points a game in the tournament. The key for Team USA in this matchup, I think, is going to come down to the 3-point shooting. And the reason why I say that, honestly, simply because Serbia in their matchup against China pretty much had one of their better matchups. I mean, Serbia, you see right there in the tournament, 35% from three. That's fourth in the tournament, but a little bit misleading. They only shoot it about 60. They've only shot it about 60 times from 3-point land in the tournament total. So for Team USA, the reason why I'm thinking this is going to come down to 3-point shooting is because of Serbia's ability to cause turnovers. They had a 15-10 advantage in points off turnovers in the matchup against China in the quarterfinals. They had 14 steals, and a lot of that happening in the second half after they got into a bit of a rhythm. They did a great job of going up against Han Zhu, who is 6'9" for China. So it gives them a little bit of practice of going up against the size of Team USA, which would be led by Brittany Griner, Asia Wilson, and Breanna Stewart. And I think that's where Team USA will have the advantage. Breanna Stewart right now, she's been lighting it up, has 40 points in her last two games with the 23 against Australia and the 17 in the final preliminary match before that against France. But for Breanna Stewart, I mean, she's been the key, and I think it's gonna be interesting to see how Serbia matches up against Team USA's size. Can they take some of what they had against Han Zhu from China and use that against Team USA? But also, it's going to come down to their 3-point shooting. Serbia, fourth in the tournament in 3-point shooting, shot above their percentage in their last matchup at 37%. Team USA, second in the tournament in 3-point percentage, but they've had some games where they've struggled. I mentioned how Sue Bird had her struggles throughout the tournament. Jewel Lloyd has had some struggles as well. But if they can shoot it like they did against Australia, led by Breanna Stewart, I think they could be on their way to the Women's Olympic gold medal matchup. And remember, for Team USA, a 53-game win streak on the line as they go up against Serbia tonight. And we'll see how that matchup ends up playing out. And one last key for that matchup in Team USA against Serbia. Serbia has a lot of length on the perimeter. A lot of players that are about 6'2", 6'3", that have long arms that can knock the passes away, deflect the ball. That's what they did in their last matchup against China. However, Team USA also did it very well against Australia. One of the things I thought was their weakness coming into the tournament was their fast break defense off of missed shots. They did a great job against Australia, particularly Sue Bird. Specifically, Sue Bird did a great job of jumping in the passing lane, deflecting passes. Had one steal in the game, but I remember what play it was. It was on a fast break attempt for Australia. She was sitting right in the middle of the lane and knocked the ball down and stole it. Picked it up off the floor. 3-point shooting, transition defense. Once again, sounded like a broken record with some of these recaps, but hey, man, the Olympics are getting real, man. We're getting down to the gold medal matchups. Team USA versus France in men's action tomorrow, and Team USA on the women's side, they go up against Serbia tonight at 11:40 p.m. But the winner will face the winner of France versus Japan. And that, too, is a preliminary round matchup. As France and Japan, when they met the first time, Japan beat France 74-70, led by 11 assists from Rui Machida, who later in the tournament went on to have 15 assists against Nigeria in the final preliminary matchup for Japan. Japan's speed, their ability to create offense through Rui Machida. Also, they have some pretty good outside shooters. However, the thing that can sometimes trouble Japan is France has a lot of size, and Team USA, when they played Japan, did a good job of crowding Japan's shooting spaces, their airspace, with their size. And I think France has the opportunity to use some of that same strategy as well when they go up against Japan tonight. But hey, if the USA defeats Serbia and France beats Japan, we could be looking at two USA-Japan matchups for gold medals on both the men's and women's sides. So we'll see how both of those play out, and I'll have a recap of both of those matchups as well as a preview of the men's gold medal matchup tomorrow right here on the World Class Hoops podcast. Bit of a quicker show today than I expected, so I'm going to wrap it up right here. This has been another edition of the World Class Hoops podcast. One thing I did want to say, I'm looking forward to the Malice at the Palace. I did see that they're going to have the Malice at the Palace documentary on Netflix. I am looking forward to seeing that. I remember watching that. I remember all of that vividly. I remember that was a Friday night, and I remember because you got to remember that was November, so that was like 4 days after my birthday. So, and that was like 4 days, so it was 04. So it was like 4 days after my 14th birthday. So I vividly remember all all of what happened around Malice at the Palace. I remember all the media coverage, all the suspensions, just the nonstop media coverage. I mean, just we had never seen anything like that at the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the Malice at the Palace documentary. I know that comes out on August the 10th. I'll probably talk more about that as we get closer to the date. But I just wanted to get that out because that's been on my mind ever since I found out about it. And I found out maybe like a week and a half ago. So I'm looking forward to that Malice at the Palace documentary. Looking forward to seeing what plays out with that, as well as all the other games that are going to be going on. I know. I look forward to a lot of things. I know. But hey man, what can I say? I like hooping, man. What can I like hooping, man? You see, I got this throwback shirt on. I wasn't even alive in '88, but a throwback shirt on that I bought. But I just love basketball, man, and I just sometimes just like to. It comes across on the show, man. So salute to that, man. That positive energy to you all. Remember, you can catch the World Class Hoops podcast on social media, on Facebook at World Class Hoops Podcast, also on YouTube at World Class Hoops Podcast, and on Twitter at WCHP Media. Also available on all streaming platforms, including Apple, Anchor, Google, Spotify, and YouTube. And remember, you can catch me, your host, Chris Rouse, on social media if you'd like to. No pressure. You can catch me on social media at KingRouse21 on Twitter and Instagram. So once again, for another great episode here of the World Class Hoops Podcast, I hope you enjoyed what you heard or saw. Until next time, I'll be right back here tomorrow with another edition. Positive energy to you all. Salute. Until next time, this has been another edition of the World Class Hoops Podcast. You all have a great day. Hopefully you're enjoying the Olympics. You're enjoying NBA free agency. You're enjoying all this hooping going on. I'm gonna try to enjoy some AC because it's hot right here in Chicago right now. It's gonna be a 90-degree scorcher today. So I'm trying to get some AC. So until tomorrow, you guys have a safe day. Salute.